Hi, this is Frode, and today we will explore 50 philosophy classics by Butler Bowdon. "50 Philosophy Classics", subtitle, Your shortcut to the most important ideas on being, truth, and meaning. Butler Bowdon is a best-selling author of incredible range. He has written books like 50 Self-Help Classics, 50 Success Classics, and 50 Spirituality Classics. I think he's got 8 or more books in this 50 Classics series, where he features 50 books within vastly different fields. And in 50 Philosophy Classics, he distills the most important ideas from the greatest philosophers throughout the ages. And he makes it really easy for us to just pick and choose between the top books within philosophy to see what we might want to study further, or just if we want to get a gist of the real ideas in those books. And there are 3 main things I want to talk to you about today, which are: first, what is philosophy and how is it relevant to our lives? Secondly, why is philosophy important? And thirdly, how can we start pursuing philosophy, given that we want to? So first, what is philosophy? Well, during my first semester in college, I became pretty convinced that philosophy is this really boring subject where a boring teachers ask you all these kinds of impractical questions like what is the meaning of life? Is it possible to have true knowledge? And then he lets us suffer with those questions for an hour or something, and none of the students are really able to answer them in a good way. And they also motivate us really good by telling us that people have been asking themselves these questions for thousands of years and nobody has been able to answer them. Well, thank you for that one. So eventually we start thinking that philosophy is just a waste of time, that has no practical meaning at all to our lives. But that's not actually what philosophy is, because these last few years I've become really obsessed with the more practical kind of philosophy, which is not as theoretical as the one we often learn in school. But what I've learned that is most essentially that philosophy is the study of how to live, the study and practice of how to live, because it helps you create a set of rules or principles. You can make them formally and really write down what you're going to do, or else you just let them shape your own philosophy of life, the way you choose to live your life, the goals you set, the way you think, and the way you act. But also philosophy is a way of gaining knowledge of what's true about reality and discerning the key governing principles of existence, which is another matter and a bit more theoretical, but there are also ways to make these things practical by aligning ourselves to certain principles. But we're not going to go into that here. Mainly, for us, philosophy is the study and practice of how to live, of how to be good, of how to be happy, and of course to realize our true potential. That's at least the way I like to approach philosophy. So, secondly, why is philosophy important? To understand this, I want to share an analogy with you. Now, imagine that you are born naked, scared, and hungry into the wilderness in a great jungle where there are a lot of dangerous animals like jaguars wanting to eat you. There are venomous snakes that want to bite you and kill you, and there are grumpy gorillas who don't like that you come onto their territory. So you're born into this tribe of people who include your family, your friends, your one day to be co-workers in the hunting that you do to gain food for your family, and the tribe at large, tribe community. So as you grow up, you suddenly start noticing that all of these tribe members are running really fast. And when you ask the tribe leaders, where are we going and why are we running so fast? And they say, we had no idea where we're going, we just want to get out of here. So this strikes you as a bit peculiar. The top leaders don't actually know where they are going. Some of them are really assertive of that they know the way, but you don't never actually get anywhere. So you spend years and years just walking around the jungle trying to get out of there. One day you come upon a set of tracks that go in a slightly different direction than you had previously, the one you come from, and you quickly realize that there are a lot of cloth pieces that have been ripped off on some of the plants and the bushes, and you can see that it's your tribe that has been there. So you now see that your tribe has been going in circles for years, never really getting anywhere. And that's the point at which you climb up into a tree in order to get a bigger vantage point of where are we actually and where do we need to go. And as the forest goes off into the horizon, and it's pretty flat, so you have no real ways of discerning where you are or where you need to go, you look up, you look even higher into the stars. And up there you find a really beautiful, shiny star that seems to be pretty still. Over a lot of days you have been seeing that other stars seem to be moving, but not this one. And what you don't really know is that is the North Star, which stands completely still on the sky. And you think, what if we actually follow that North Star? Will that prevent us from going in circles and getting nowhere? And you get pretty convinced that that's the case. So you choose to, no matter what other people say, I'm going to follow that star. But of course, the other tribe members will have to want to go there too, since it's the most reasonable option. So you climb down the tree, try to convince your other tribe members to go with you, but a lot of them just look at you in this perplexed way and say, wow, just get on the ground for a bit, stop being such an impractical dreamer. But a few people, a few noble souls choose to go with you on this journey. And from saying a lot of difficult goodbyes to your family and your previous friends and your co-workers and community at large, you go on to this journey. You follow the North Star. And you do realize that sometimes you walk off the path for a few hours, even days, but then you go up into the tree again and correct your course. And eventually you get out of this jungle. Whereas your family and everybody else you knew, they are still stuck back in that old place. And you are now ready to build and live a whole new life for yourself. So, how is this analogy practical for us and philosophy? Well, you are the scared, hungry baby which wakes up into an uncertain and dangerous world. There are a lot of tribal leaders and family members who are having certain opinions about what's right to do and where to go in life. And but you quickly realize that these leaders, even the most respected business leaders, politicians, and philosophers, also might be wrong about where to go. So you realize that you need to go higher and look for yourself and see what's the direction I need to take. What seems true to me. So therefore, when you are ready to take responsibility for your life, you might be going in a completely new direction from the one the rest of your society is moving in. And perhaps it might be the right one or the wrong one. But philosophy is much like your polar north star. And even though you get off track with your thoughts and your actions and toward the goals you pursue, you will correct yourself by studying philosophy more deeply and seeing how have other people lived. What have other people said about how we can be happy and how we can be good? And what do I find true for myself? I will go and see. So, in very short summarization, the reason why philosophy is important is that it enables you to get out of the jungle of just sleepwalking through life and instead take on a bigger vantage point, to have a compass which leads you forward in the direction of your own destiny, the way you choose to lead your life. Now, third big idea is, how do we start pursuing philosophy, given that we now want to? The way There are two essential questions that I asked myself as I sat down and read this book, 50 Philosophy Classics, and that's what are the greatest philosophers and their views of how to live a good and happy life? And secondly, who do I want to study more deeply? So after reading this book, I got at least 30 new books that I want to pursue in philosophy in order to realize my own potential, be happy and good. Now, this is not going to happen this year or next year or in the next 5 years, but this is a list I built that I'm constantly building on and will read for the rest of my life. So the reason it's so important that you get this higher vantage point of seeing the big perspective of what's actually out there from the philosophers of the past and the books they have written is that if you don't do that, and if you don't do that, you might be stuck in the jungle and just read the philosophy book you stumble across by chance, and which might lead you in a good way or a bad way, but you don't really know since you haven't seen what possibilities lie out there beyond that book. So it gives you a good vantage point from which to choose the greatest works that most resonate with you. So how do you actually do this? Well, I recommend that you start a book list. You can have it on a computer program like Evernote, Microsoft Word. You can write the list down on paper, or you can do like I do. Whenever you come across a book that you want to study more deeply, study further, instead of just having a summary done by someone else, like in this book or on Google, then you go to Amazon, look up the summary of the book right there, read a few of the customer reviews, so what other people have thought about the book, and then you add it to your book list, or you might even buy it immediately. And that way your book list will build and you will have something that you can read for the rest of your life, given that you keep adding books to the list. But don't feel any rush to read everything now. You can just pick the one book that you're most passionate about, the one that you feel resonate best, and start pursuing that. And from there, you'll keep going and possibly move into more kinds of books and studies. Now, one book I highly recommend that if you're a beginner to philosophy, the practical philosophy we use to become better people, or you have been studying it for years on your own or in a university, I recommend The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday is a best-selling writer who makes a really good job at making the ancient Stoics, the wisdom of the ancient Stoics, accessible to us. And in The Daily Stoic, he has shared 366 quotes, one for each day of the year, plus the offshoot year, or I'm not sure what it's called when you have one extra day. Then he has reflected on each of those quotes and made it really easy for us to understand what we can do and what these ancient philosophers meant. These really practical, no bullshit philosophers who wanted to become better and serve others. So that's the book I recommend. But that's a look at the 3 key ideas. Let's recap and conclude this video. First, we looked at what philosophy is, which is the study of how to live, most essentially. Secondly, we saw why it's important, because we don't want to get stuck in the wilderness, in the jungle, and remain there for the rest of our lives, ignorant of what might be out there and the direction we need to take. We need philosophy to guide us on the right path of how to live. And thirdly, how do we start pursuing philosophy? We can read books like this one, where we get a big bird's eye perspective of what's out there, what are the greatest works in history, greatest philosophical works in history, and we might just look at Google for a few lists and see what we want to study more. So that's a quick look at 50 philosophy classics. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, I believe you'll love the book. Thank you very much for watching. Please like this video, share it with your friends, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date on key ideas for realizing your ultimate potential. Thanks again for watching, and have an awesome day.